Thanks to .de and AOE Media for your yearly sponsorships.
Although we would like to believe that TYPO3 is the center of the universe, not always is data actually available in the MySQL database that comes with TYPO3. But Francois, you have made you have made an interesting way to import data from external sources, and that's what you will be showing us right now.
Yes, exactly. We often had the requirement from clients that they had some data internally in their company, or they were running some special third-party application for some purpose, but they needed that information to also be displayed on their public website. That was a very common requirement that we faced. So we developed a system where we could easily connect to a variety of sources and get data from these sources and store it into local tables, so that when we need to display this data, we don't need to connect to that source at that time, but the data is already here locally.
What if the data is updated externally from TYPO3?
The data is most of the time not meant really to be updated on the TYPO3 side, although it is possible because you update a number of fields, you will update a number of fields in a table, but maybe not all. So if you know what you're doing, you may have fields that come from the external source and other fields which are worked on the TYPO3 side.
Okay, but it does synchronize the external source. When the external source gets updated,
yes, it
can resynchronize the original import and stuff like that.
Basically what you get is a backend module where you have a list of all the tables that are synchronized in some way.
Let's look at it.
Yeah, let's look at it. So on this screen we are already in the backend module provided by the external data import tool, which is added to the user tools section. And this data that you see is provided by a tutorial extension which accompanies the external import extension. So there's the external import extension and a tutorial which makes it easy to step into this and play a bit at first. So we can see that we have 4 tables which will receive synchronization. One table here is a custom defined table because it doesn't exist, a departments table which doesn't exist in TYPO3. We need to define departments. But then we see that we are also synchronizing to the FE users table, which is a basic table of TYPO3, where we'll import data also into existing table. We're actually importing data twice into that table. We're importing different data from different sources into the same table. This is also okay. And finally, we have a teams, which is also a custom defined table. And from this backend module, we can start manual synchronizations. But the module, of course, also provides a scheduler task, so that data can be synchronized at any frequency that's needed, once per day, several times per day, once per month, whatever frequency is needed to refresh the data. Just so we see the process, if I start the synchronization, just a simple synchronization here. Oops, sorry, that was a right click. It said that it's running, and now it's saying that it has inserted 3 new records, which were read from the external source that's defined here. In the tutorial, to keep it simple, it's simply flat files which are provided with the extensions and are read with one of the connector services, which is an important aspect also of this development. Because data sources may be from a very wide variety of application and formats. So to make this flexible, I imagined a class of services called connectors, which define an API for telling it to fetch data and give me back the data. So all I need is to have a specific connector, and then I tell this table is going to import data from this source using this connector, and then whatever additional parameters are necessary for that specific connector. So by default there exists one which is for CSV files. It's capable of reading more or less any flat file and making it into a PHP array. So it is this array that then external data import received. In development we have also an ODBC connector, we have a XML feed connector. All the point is that then it doesn't matter. We receive the data in the same format and we can handle it, and we don't have to worry about the connection. It's delegated to the service. What the backend module also allows you to see, it's all definition. You have to define what connector service you need to use, the parameters for that connection, and the mapping. So you have all this external data coming in, you have to map it to some internal fields. That's, of course, all part of importing data. And all this is achieved by actually extending the TCA syntax. So, because it's already a table description language. So all I did was extend it, and this extended syntax is recognized by external import.
And if we click view details?
And if we click on view details,
right.
Yeah, I'm on the wrong side of the trackpad. We have a whole list of parameters, which is all that was defined. So there's a, just like in the TCA, a control part, which is a main part. We define the main parameters. You say we'll use a CSV connector, we will read that file, plus additional parameters for the file. We're going to store the data in some sys folder, plus a number of other options. It has a lot of options. Let's not detail all this here. And then you have a columns mapping. So for each column, you say which external field corresponds to which internal field.
Yeah, sounds easy and logical.
Yes, it sounds easy and logical as long as we stay with simple files. It can get a bit hairy when you need to do relations, for example. Of course, you also need to sometimes to rebuild relations on the TYPO3 side, which means you have to match the keys, the primary keys from outside to the primary keys, the UID that we have inside TYPO3. So it gets a bit more complicated. There's an example here where here we see we can also use call user functions, so it's possible to do some kind of last-minute transformation on the incoming
wants to talk to you.
Data. Yeah, apparently. Sorry for that. Here we see, for example, we have the front-end user is related to a department. So we say that we import the data from the department field. And it's going to be matched against the departments table. So that we can then build a relation not on this external key, whatever it was, but on the UID key that we have inside TYPO3. So later we can build relations as we are used to them. We can use the TYPO3 database API without worrying about some special formats from this external source. That's a basic idea of the extension. As I said before, it can also be scheduled, because you, of course, will want to regularly update the data. This was designed originally for older versions of TYPO3 already, so it can schedule with Gabriel or with the new scheduler available as from 4.3. And there's a shortcut actually where you can define a synchronization straight from the backend module, because that makes it a bit easier. But of course you can also go to the scheduler backend module and define the task there. And for example, if we add the task here, we don't need to set a start date, it will start automatically. I say I want that at, let's say, 1 in the morning every day. So that's just like the scheduler, it uses the cron syntax. And I click on set synchronization. So now it tells me that synchronization was saved. And if I look here in the column about automatic synchronization, I see that one synchronization is activated. It tells me when it's going to run the next time and what the frequency is. I can also activate synchronization for all external tables. So all will be synchronized in one go, respecting an important factor here, which is a priority of the tables. Because it's very important if you build relations, you have to import the data you want to relate to first, otherwise you cannot relate to it, obviously.
And this extension is available in TER at the moment?
Yes, it is already released to the TER. So there's the extension itself called external_import. There's also the tutorial I mentioned. And for connector services, you have the base connector extension, which provides the API, and a specific implementation for CSV files.
And it's in beta or stable state?
We consider that to be stable because we're using it now for 2 years in various client websites, importing lots of information.
Yeah.
So it's really a proven solution.
Finally. Thank you, Francois, for demonstrating. It was great to see some tough work like this made. Very solid it looks, and impressive. So
may I add a little something?
Yes, you may.
Connector services actually can be used to interact with remote sources for other reasons too. If you, for example, the CSV connector service is about reading a CSV file. So in another application, if you need to read CSV files, you may also use the connector services. They need not be used only in the context of external import.
Okay, cool. And any more points you wanted to get across? Yes,
external import as an API also. So rather than just external import grabbing the data, if you have some application that already has data, you can pass it to external import and benefit from all
as an API in my own
and benefit from all the mapping stuff and such.
Cool.
And that's it.
Thanks for sharing with us.
You're welcome.